welcome to the last episode of 2022 for Queerly Recommended, the podcast where we recommend queer films, books, TV shows, and more. I'm Kris Bryant, a contemporary romance writer for Bold Strokes Books, and I will be recommending a Christmas romance movie.
And I'm Tara Scott, and I review sapphic fiction at the Lesbian Review and Smart Bitches Trashy Books. This week, I am recommending a holiday romance novel. If you would like to support the show, there's links in our show notes where you can contribute to our coffee or sign up for our newsletter, or you can even just tell a friend about us if you think they need more queer media recommendations in their life. Speaking of queer media things that we can recommend to people, Kris Bryant, you have a new book coming out soon. What is she? Tell us all about her and where people can get it.
So it is called Catch, and it is... I love this book. It is about an NFL offensive coordinator, a female offensive coordinator, the first one in the NFL. And it's kind of a second chance romance. It's a past-present, meeting in high school and then meeting up later in life. It just has the background of the NFL, which will appeal to all the sporties out there who like sports, which I love sports and I love football. So I decided I'm going to do it. I'm going to write a story about a love affair, interest, and have it in the NFL because women are really coming up in the NFL. We have so many women refs, we have women coaches, women trainers. I think we have one female owner.
Well, that's cool.
Right. So after doing a lot of research and just loving football, and I'm from Kansas City where Patrick Mahomes is, and fight me on this, but he's, the GOAT. I just said, I love football so much, I'm just going to write a book about it. And anyway, it comes out, it drops with Bold Strokes Books on January 1st, and then through the other platforms where you buy books, January 11th, I think, is the general release day for it. So I'm pretty excited. And I have I've been sending them out. People can pre-order through me. And so I've been sending them out. And so it's nice to get feedback already. I like to get feedback, because this is the really... tense time is right before a book is released to the world when the reviewers get it. And so it's nice to see how people are how they handle it, how they take it. If they like it, if they follow it, if they understand it.
Does it matter if you don't know anything about football, asking for a friend? Name me.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter at all. It doesn't take away from the story, but it does enhance it. So you can read through it. It's like soccer. I know nothing of soccer. I really don't. But I can read a book about soccer, and I understand that we're building a relationship in a book about soccer. So it doesn't take away from it, at all. It's like reading a sci-fi book. None of these things really exist, but you can follow along, right? Right?
I mean,
sort of.
Usually. Sort of. There was one sports romance. I'm almost positive it was a tennis romance. And I had the hardest time following. Well, I didn't have a hard time following the romance. Like, that part was super easy. So, because that was not, it was not like the tennis ball was in a romance or anything. It was still two women. But, like, there was so much of tennis where I think if you're a big tennis fan, it would have been really exciting. Right. Actually, not even I think. I know this because one of my other good friends is like the biggest of tennis nerds and was so excited about this book when I told her about it. But then I was like, that's cool. So, like, did it make sense if you know tennis? And she was like, yes, but not so much to me. So now I kind of like to check sometimes for sports romances just to see.
So let me tell you a little story. My editor, she calls them sports balls. She knows zero about sports. And she, during edits, she's like, you know what? You know a lot about football. And this isn't a football book. It's a romance. So I'm going to take out like 10,000 words. And I'm like, okay. Because sometimes, you get excited and you get in the moment and you realize that there's going to be a handful of people who really dig it. And then you realize 90% of the people are here for a romance, not about football. So that got cut by 10,000 words.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think it's the difference between like, is the sport like wallpaper or is it a character?
Right.
I want it to be wallpaper.
Yeah, it
not
should
a character.
Be wallpaper. But it's so exciting when you write about something you love and you're passionate about it. It's hard to keep that in mind that this is a romance. It is not, like you said, that the sports should not be an extra character. And it really isn't. So
Mhm.
I think it turned out well. I think I have 2 editors. One loves football and the other one can't stand it. So together we all worked and we made this thing work. The answer is no.
You heard her.
So I challenge you to read my book.
All right. I'm going to do it
Good.
when it's out.
Yes.
Everybody join me. Pre-order this book.
Yes. So tell me, did you all check out our bonus episode last week? Where we had...
Oh my goodness.
I know. It was amazing. What if they haven't? Should we still tell everybody?
Yes. Oh my goodness. You absolutely should. Okay. It was so funny because I watched the Big Brunch first. And as I acknowledged in our last regular episode, I was too excited to wait.
Mm-hmm.
I just had to, I'm going to recommend it now because it's going to take 2 months for the rest of these episodes to come out. And I can't wait that long. And no, that wasn't the case. But I think the thing that was great about it was that it meant that, like, when I had the rest of my thoughts fully gathered, you had watched it too.
Yes, I loved it.
Oh, like, we both loved it so much. And I think, like, I don't think there was anybody in the show that we didn't like. Like,
right.
Everybody is great. But, like, for me, I loved Catie and Jay.
Right.
Like, loved. I mean, I also loved Daniel. You know, he was so wonderful. Actually, I'm just going to end up saying that about the whole cast. But, like, but for me, my favorites were Catie and Jay. Because, of course, it's going to be, like, who are the openly, visibly queer characters that we really get to know. You know, I was excited to get that Canadian representation, too,
right.
from Jay. And it was so funny because you and I had been saying, man, wouldn't it be cool if we could talk to either of them? And I think that is the fastest, like, from saying a wish
right
to having it come true.
It was like 2 minutes. You're like, hey, guess what?
Right? Like, and I mean,
fast.
like, in my life, because, like, snacks don't count. I mean, I've made lots of, like, I wish, and then it's like, yeah, you can have that shit delivered to your house. That's fine. So, like, non-snack related. It was so cool because we posted a clip to Instagram and Catie said, hey, I love podcasts. Would love to be on your podcast. And my heart almost stopped. And then I sent that note to you.
Yes.
I don't know if your heart almost stopped.
I actually laughed. I laughed because I knew that you were so excited about this. So excited. And so I laughed. And then it just got better. It just got bigger and better from there.
Yes. Yeah, it was wild because, I don't even know why I said it in the email, but I was emailing with Catie and said, yeah, Kris and I had been talking about how great it would be to talk to you or Jay. And then for Catie to say, I bet Jay would want to do this. Mm-hmm. And so I think my favorite thing about that conversation, I mean, all of it was great. It was so great to talk to them. But I think my favorite thing was seeing how much they clearly love each other.
Right.
What about you?
What was my favorite part?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. When you found out and your excitement, your utter excitement about this was just it was so sweet. Because normally I think you're very, dare I say, professional about things. You're very calm. You know, you're very calm about things. And you were just like a little kid. You were just so excited. And so, and to see and to hear you just be like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Can you believe this is the best thing that's ever happened? Oh my gosh. So it was really, I love that part. And then when we actually had our conversation, they fed off of each other so well. There was no over-talking, overlapping. They just you could tell they had so much respect and love for each other. And I think that goes for the whole cast. The way they were talking, they just everybody loved everybody. And it came through on screen. It really did.
Yeah, I agree. So if you haven't listened to it, I really would say please go back and give it a listen because they are so lovely.
Right.
They're just truly, that was I think one of the most fun conversations I've had this year.
It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it too. You know, and you know me, I'm a foodie, or I pretend to be, and I watch all the shows. You know this. Yes. I wrote a book about it.
You did.
And yeah, it was so much fun. So I didn't feel like anything was going too fast, you know, moving. Sometimes conversations get, everybody was on track. We all kept it about food. I think you only had to herd us a couple times, maybe once. Herd us back to the conversation. But yeah, it was so lovely. I had a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so good job.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you, Jay and Katie, if either of you are still listening to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
That was a super fun time.
It really was.
So, Kris, what have you been watching or reading lately? What's going on?
Okay, so I finished the final episode of The White Lotus Dropped.
Is it ever, or is it just the most recent season?
Just the most recent season. So it's not queer, and it's super weird, and I still feel off watching it. It's kind of creepy, you know. It's a kind of this season was a little creepy, and I just feel like unsettled. I want you to watch this and tell me what you think about this. Yeah, it's one of those where it's quick. I think it's only 7 episodes. So last night when I queued it up in my DVR, I was like, oh, coming up is the final episode for this, or the season finale of blah, blah, blah. And I was shocked, you know. But see, they kind of tell you that something weird's going to happen in the, you know, from the previews, you know, this season on The White Lotus. And you kind of get clips of things, and so you know something terrible happens. You just don't know what it is. And so I do. I feel it's not dirty either. I feel unsettled. So, but I watched it to the bitter end because I'm a loyalist to TV shows.
So you're going to do this again next season?
I know I am. Probably.
This is going to be you like 15 seasons into The Handmaid's Tale. Right. It's still horrible.
It's still horrible, but God, I can't stop watching.
Right, I can't stop watching, but at least one more bad guy got stabbed in the neck.
Yeah.
This is something.
Yeah, so I'm there for justice, I guess. Whatever. And I started Wednesday from on Netflix, The Addams Family.
How's
Wednesday.
that? I've been seeing a lot of people saying it's super
it is
gay, like big time shipping.
So I really like it. I'm only on like maybe the 3rd episode, maybe. So I've only seen the first 2 episodes and I really like it. But here's something that you don't know about me is I've never seen The Addams Family. I never watched it.
Me neither.
Oh, okay, cool. So, I mean, I saw the movie with Christina Ricci when it came out. Like, I don't know, how old were we? Like 2? I did see it then.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know the backgrounds of all the characters. I don't know who they are, but Catherine Zeta-Jones is the mom.
Oh, all right.
Like she has been on my top 10 list, or top 10 like forever, for a really long time. So like, why wouldn't she be? But anyway.
Oh yeah, understandable.
Yes. So Wednesday, so I'm gonna pick that back up, and then here's something amazing. So I'm watching The L Word, Generation Q. And I don't know what episode we're on. I don't know because it's a weekly thing too, which I don't know why they do this anymore. World has changed. But the coolest thing happened. So did you watch the original L Word like 10, 15 years ago? 13 years ago, I think? Oh,
man. I watched at least the first 2 seasons, but I watched all of those in the middle of the night while nursing a newborn baby. So let's just say it's a gigantic blur because I don't remember very much of what happened then. All I remember is how much I hated Jenny.
Oh, everybody hated Jenny. Oh my goodness,
exactly. Yeah. Like everybody. I didn't feel like unique or special in that or anything, but like, oh no, does she come back in the new one?
No, she's dead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to tell you this. She's dead.
No, don't be sorry. This is, I mean, she's not a real person, so this is great news.
This is great news, and they covered it up. Everybody said they didn't know what happened. How do you not know this? Oh my goodness.
Well, I told you, I only watched 2.5 seasons. I had a newborn.
We have the
Catch
internet.
Me up. How'd she die?
like the internet. Like, what happened? I'm curious to know what happened. I want to say Alice killed her. I can't remember for sure. It's been a long time. Alice. I know, Alice.
Way to go. I'll go look it up later. You're right. Yes. I should have looked it up 11 years ago when I was watching it. Actually, it would have been...
You could have binge
almost exactly 11 years ago.
Well, I think this season... The season I'm referring... Well, it doesn't matter. Let me tell you what's happening. So Max is back. Do you know who Max is?
Hold, please.
You're going to look.
I'm just doing a quick Google search. Yeah, I need to. Oh. No, I don't think I made it.
You didn't make it to
that
Max.
far in the series. Like, the face looks kind of familiar.
They actually showed Max's transition. And it was so, how do I want to say? It was so advanced. Like, nothing like that has been shown on television. You know, this was, like I said, like 15 years ago. Look that up. You have the thingy. You have the internet. Look it up, please.
That's right. Yes, I'm looking it up.
Thank you. So they had Max, who was transitioning, but they didn't really follow through with their storyline. Like, they left everybody hanging. Like, they showed, like, what happens. And, like, it was kind of a, how do I want to say it? It was kind of educational. A lot of people didn't know. And it was bringing it in front of an audience so that it was this is what happens. This is our trans family. We support everybody. But then they pulled it. They just abandoned Max, like, forever. Just nobody knows what happened to Max. One of those.
Yeah.
But they brought Max back. And so now we have closure. We have Max is happy. Am I ruining this? No, I'm not ruining this. Like, you have time. People have time by now. Like, I am caught up. And by the time this airs.
Yeah. And I think it was either on Twitter I saw or my phone recommended an article or something where they were like, blah, blah, blah. Iconic trans character from the L Word is back. And I was like, okay.
Well, it got me excited because I was so invested in Max's storyline. And they just dropped it and dropped the ball.
Is it the same actor?
Yes. Everything. It's
cool.
amazing. It was just like, it was such a, oh my goodness. Like, I had a little flutter. I was like, oh my goodness, we're finally getting Max's story and Max's happy ending. And so I love that. So everything else is shit on that show except for that. I mean, but again, I'm going to watch it because
but you're
I'm
loyal.
I know. I'm not loyal to lots of things, but goddamn it, television shows and movies I am. And then, and we're going to talk about this. I know we have to talk about this, but I rewatched 2009's Avatar.
And does it hold up?
It does not hold up.
I'm guessing
it does not hold up. It does not. So I have faith that the movie that comes out or is out now, the water, Avatar water, whatever it's called, that will do a better job. I don't know how.
I mean,
I don't know how they
it's hard to do a worse job from us. Well, okay. Do the graphics hold up?
The graphics hold up incredibly, yeah. The cinematography and everything is great. It still holds up. Like, it was still visually beautiful to watch. Okay. So just, the story itself.
I was going to say everything but the story and the dialogue.
Yeah. Dialogue, story, everything is great. Everything but that is great. Like, just visually, it's still a beautiful movie, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I did. That has kept me busy, for sure. So what about you?
I don't think I have it in me to rewatch.
Yeah, maybe not watch that, but maybe you need to watch The White Lotus instead. It's about the same amount of time because Avatar's like 3 hours. Like 3 hours. And the new one is like 3.5 hours.
No.
Yeah.
No. I can't imagine sitting in the theater for 3.5 hours.
No, I'm going to wait until I can rent it, like, at home. Because, I need to pause and go to the bathroom and get something to drink and eat. And I don't want to have to, like, race to go. That's the one thing I hate about movie theaters is that, you can't pause it and say, and then you have to come back and say what I missed. And everybody's like, shh, shh, shh. So it's not fun for me. It's too stressful.
Yeah. I feel like if a movie is that long, that's a sign of, like, a self-indulgent director. Who? James Cameron?
Well, so, yeah, this is really weird. I started Andor, like you said. I started it.
Oh, yeah.
And so I watched, the whole Star Wars, the beginning of it. And I'm just like, how much money does Steven Spielberg have? I'm curious. I'm curious what.
Did you look it up?
No, I didn't. I'm lazy. Like,
well,
we
still don't know.
We have the internet.
I think the answer is a lot.
A lot. And I wondered, is he richer than Cameron? What do you think? I mean,
I don't know.
Well, that's something I'll have to Google for another time. So, Or maybe now. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good question because they've both done like absolutely iconic things.
Right.
Like ignoring do they hold up? Do they, all that. But like they've both worked on these like incredible blockbusters.
Right. I mean, for sure they are the directors of our time. For sure. Right? No?
I'm a baby. I'm too young for
Well, let's see. Steven Spielberg's had quite a bit besides Star Wars. Didn't he do all the Indiana Joneses too?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he did the Indiana Jones. He did tons of stuff. But Indiana Jones I think is among the biggest. I
am Googling this right now.
He did E.T.
Oh yeah. Well, E.T. was like 1981 or something. That was a long time ago.
That was actually the first movie I saw in the theater.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't first run or anything like that, but the town that I grew up in is this like tiny town in Ontario, not too far from the Detroit border. And so when I was little, the only mall in town had a movie theater, and I think it would run stuff that was like relatively recent, but not like new in theaters, blah, blah, blah. And so my Aunt Mary took me, at least one of my cousins. I can't remember if she took my younger brother or not. I only had one brother at the time. And like I was into it. It was interesting. But then when it got to the part where E.T. is hooked up to all the monitors and stuff, I freaked the fuck out. Yes, that is when I got scared. I was not okay. It was not a good time. And yeah, that's one of my first memories is being scared of E.T., being hooked up to all the shit.
Well, that sucks. And so do I, because George Lucas, come on. With a net worth of roughly $7.62 billion. George Lucas, Star Wars, is the wealthiest film director in the world, followed by Steven Spielberg at $5.41 billion, and James Cameron is the fifth richest film director in the world with $700 million fortune. But this was back in 2020. But that'll change with Avatar, I'm sure.
Yeah,
probably,
maybe.
So now I gotta look at all this Steven Spielberg. I gotta figure this out. It doesn't matter. This is my own personal journey. I need to take it off the podcast, and let's get back to the podcast. So, what about you? What have you been watching, reading, drawing, listening to?
All right. I've been watching a few things. The first is Drink Masters, which is on Netflix. Have you checked it out or have you heard of it?
I've seen it. I saw it as a choice, but I have not done anything about it. I didn't know if it was good or not.
So one of my coworkers asked if I'd seen it. I think she knows that I like... Well, actually, I had been talking to her about the Big Brunch, and she knew I like that. And I said, oh, is it good? And she said, it's a really great show to watch while you're on the treadmill. And I was like, okay. Not totally sure what that means. But I wanted to watch something kind of like, I wanted to have something on, but like something that I knew was going to be pretty chill, pretty low stress. And I find competition cooking shows are often like that for me. And, it actually has more cooking in it than I would have expected. I don't know anything about mixology, but I guess it's actually like a good show to learn about that from, where they've been talking about like trends in mixology to include more fresh ingredients. Like gone are the days of preserved fruit juices going into alcoholic mixes and stuff like that. So this show, like, yes, they have a bar, but they also have a kitchen where they can go and cook down kind of whatever they need to, which is pretty cool. There are a couple of queer contestants in it, so that's kind of fun and nice. And they actually get paired together in a challenge in I think it's the third episode. And it's so sweet because, like, clearly they've bonded. I mean, that's kind of what happens, right? When there's two queer people in a room with a bunch of straight people.
You're going to find one another.
That's just how that goes. So, yeah, I'm having fun with it. It's definitely, I could see myself watching it while on a treadmill, but also I just watch it, say, when I'm hanging out. So that's kind of a nice thing.
I might try it.
Last time I mentioned that the third season of We're Here has started.
Yes.
And now I've watched the first couple of episodes, and I've got to say, Kris, I think that when it comes to queer representation on the TV, We're Here might be the most important show that's on right now. I mean, I, of course, fundamentally believe that all queer representation is important. I mean, that's part of why we're here and why we do what we do with this podcast. But they're doing something really, really special with it. So for people that don't know what We're Here is yet, it is a show with 3 drag queens, Eureka O'Hara, Bob the Drag Queen, and Shangela, all of which became pretty famous because of RuPaul's Drag Race. Bob won season, I think, 8. Eureka was on 3 or 4 seasons. Shangela was on 3 seasons. And they go around to small towns all across the US. And they put on drag shows where each of them has a new drag child. Like, it's a local that is put into drag and performs for, you know, people in their community. And so in a way, I've started describing it as it's a makeover show, but it's much more about an internal or an emotional makeover than it is about the actual physical, because, I mean, most of these people are probably not getting in drag again after they do this show. You know, sometimes the people being put in drag are prominent members of their community that are straight. So they might be a local politician. There's been like a pastor who wanted to do it, both because he wanted the people in his church to know that, you know, queer people are welcome, but also because his daughter is, I'm trying to remember. I think she's bi. And so he's really, you know, he's doing this for his daughter. And unfortunately, he got driven out of his church, which is so sad and so wrong because he did the show. Sometimes it's queer people getting in drag for various reasons. Sometimes because they're trying to sort of work through hard feelings about being queer. Because as we all know too well, unfortunately, there are some places where it's just not that safe to be queer in the US.
Do they sign up for it? Or is it just like some random, hey, you look like you'd...
Well, they agree to it somehow, but I don't actually know anything about what the casting process is like. So I don't know if there's just like an open call that goes out in the community, or if there was one case, I think we talked about this last year, the episode in Branson, Missouri.
Yeah.
And I think it was there was this one young man. Oh man, so heartbreaking when I was watching it. He had gone to some other city and he was gay and he had been like living his gay life, and then he became a born again Christian, and now he was saying that he wasn't gay anymore because he knows that that's a sin. Mm-hmm. And his mom, all she wanted was for him to love himself as he is. And it was so beautiful because by the end of the episode, they followed up by saying basically like, yeah, he acknowledges now that he is gay, which is it's so great. You know, there was another episode in this tiny town, I think it was in Nebraska, and it was this man, he's married to a woman, but he is, you know, he's bi, and cross-dressing makes him happy, but he didn't feel like it was safe. And so this was again kind of like a let's go out, let's do this, can you accept yourself? So season 3 though, it's the same mission. It's doing the same things. But the first episode takes place in Granbury, Texas. Do you know about Granbury?
You said Texas, and yeah, yes.
Granbury is one of the towns in Texas where they've been banning certain LGBTQ books from schools.
We talked about that, yeah.
Yeah. And in this episode, they get into that. They talk about the school banning the books. They talk about Shangela was going to do a drag story time. And they had to actually move locations because there was a physical threat. Mm-hmm. And so and it was amazing because there was another member of the community that said, bring it to my store. And they showed it. It's truly just a drag queen, a reading.
Right.
A book.
That's the whole thing on Twitter. Like they have what's his name? Kirk Cameron? The kid. I say kid. Like the religious dude from...
Oh, yeah.
Wow, what was that show?
Growing Pains.
Growing Pains, yes, thank you. And he wanted to read his religious book, and the library said no, and then it like blew up. Everybody was like, oh yeah, we can't use books to sway children. You know, we don't want trans people reading, we don't want queer people, we don't want drag queens reading to the kids, but then again, we also don't want these religious highly religious people to put their agenda on our children either. So it is an interesting topic that's going on everywhere, Twitter, Instagram, all those social media platforms.
That's the thing that I really appreciated about this episode, because I felt like it took so much of the conversation that I'm seeing online, because there was a lot of backlash in the community's Facebook about drag queens even coming to town for this. There were people saying but at the same time, like, it was the way they pulled the story together for it. Because there is a bit of a narrative to every episode, right? There's the queens meeting their new drag children, talking about their circumstances. Why do you want to do this? All of that. And I think they did a really good job of showing what the threat is and how much worse and uncomfortable it can be for queer people, especially depending on where you're at. I think one of the parts that really got me the most was that one of the performers is a non-binary kid going to the local high school. I'm under the impression that they're probably nearer to the end of high school. Like, they didn't seem like they were, like, you know, whatever you call that first year of high school in the US. But their parents, because their parents are super, super, super supportive of their journey, because they're very, like, they started the GSA in their school. They are very kind of openly queer, and like, they're so supportive, which is so beautiful. But then the mom gets into talking about how scared she is for them. And, like, as a parent, I get it. That shit is scary. And so I think that's one of the most important hours of television that aired this year. The way it showed that, first of all, drag queens are not that scary.
No.
They're not grooming kids.
No.
They're just performers. They're just entertainers. Not as if, not to, like, denigrate or lessen what it means to be a performer or an entertainer, but I guess what I'm saying is, like, they are entertainers. They are performers. They are not perverts. They are not there trying to fuck anything up. Like, really getting that message across that, like, we're all just trying to live in our own ways. We're all just trying to thrive. And I just thought it was so powerful. Oh my God, I cried like a baby through that episode. I cried all over the place. So, I mean, that's the other warning. If you haven't seen We're Here yet, like, keep tissues nearby. You're going to need them. And I went to watch the second episode and was like, maybe not today. Because the second episode takes place in Jackson, Mississippi. And I was like, well, this is probably not going to be the happiest episode ever. And it actually turns out, like, for me anyway, I found it to be a much, much, much chiller episode. There is a little bit, like, someone on the street is preaching at them and is a real shithead about it.
Well, Jackson, Mississippi. I've been there.
Yeah.
They do not like queers.
Yeah. Yeah. I got the sense that it was real Bible thumping territory.
And it's I mean, Mississippi's not very big. And there aren't really very many large cities in Mississippi, and Jackson is one of the bigger cities. Just so you have a sense of it.
Yeah, that episode was very good. Yeah, I found it much easier to watch. But it was funny because I was like, oh, all right, I'm not crying. This is great. I don't always cry during We're Here. Maybe this is the ones I'm not going to cry. And then we got to the performance section. And there was one person in particular, he almost backed out from doing it. And he's the one, like, of the three that were performing that week. No, he was one of the two of the three that were performing that week that is queer, but he was the one that was having the hardest time with being gay. Not everybody in his family is super welcoming, although his cousins are incredible and we get to meet his cousins and I love them so much. But when it's time for him to perform, it's one of the best drag performances I think I've ever seen. It was fucking incredible. I got chills. I cried. It was like, it was like he took all of his anxiety about the experience and channeled it into the performance. And it was just so powerful and so epic. So yeah, it was just gorgeous. So if you haven't watched We're Here, please watch it. Please support this show. It is doing so much good, necessary work. It is so important. And on the teeniest, tiniest possible chance that anyone connected with this show, whether it is Bob the drag queen, Shangela, Eureka, whether it's an executive producer, whether it's one of the makeup artists, anybody, if any of you would be interested in coming on the show, please, please, please tag us on any social media platform you like, or email podcast@queerlyrecommended.com, because we would love to talk to you, because just thank you for what you're doing. We need this so much. Yeah. And then the last thing I watched was something that you actually recommended last year. Yay. Do you remember when we did our big ass all the Christmas movies and books extravaganza episode?
Yes, I remember it well.
Yeah, so I remember recording the episode, but clearly I didn't remember what all of your recommendations were, because I was like, Kris, we should watch this movie. And you were like, I'm pretty sure I did watch this movie. And I was like, And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, not only did you watch it, but you liked it.
I did. It was good.
You did. It was great. It's called The Christmas Setup. It has two dudes I've never seen before, and Fran Drescher plays one of their mothers. And so the idea is that she kind of arranges so her baby boy comes back to town. And it's so funny because it takes place in Philadelphia, but they make it sound like they make it seem like a small town movie, I suppose. Like, I guess Philadelphia is a smaller town than, like, New York City. Right. But it's not what I would call a small town per se. And she arranges many times for him to bump into his high school crush. And I thought it was super cute.
Yeah. Here's the good news. So we are seeing an upswing of queer Christmas movies. Mm-hmm. Not all of them are great. No.
Some of them are quite bad.
I actually, I've had people send me links, like top 10 films, queer films, Christmas movies, blah, blah, blah. And I will start them and I will stop them.
Yeah.
And so you came through for me and said, hey, why don't you watch this movie? Or this one sounds good. We're watching it. It's really, really cute. So, my official...
So, Kris.
Yes.
So, Kris, speaking of which, what is your official recommendation this week?
So, thanks to you, my official recommendation this week is a movie called Under the Christmas Tree.
I fucking love this movie. It was truly. So I also was one of the people sending you a list of movies, and I think you went through a bunch of them. You were like, oh my God, fuck my life. There's a bunch of garbage on this list. And for me, I skipped down to, there were only two that I was like, oh, need to see. And there was one I still haven't watched yet. I don't even know if it's any good, but Andie MacDowell.
I started it.
Is it bad?
It's not bad. It's just not great. And the only reason why I probably got maybe 30 minutes into it. And the only reason why I stopped it is because it's Christmas in Colorado and there should be snow everywhere. And it was like green grass and it was filmed during summertime. And it was just hard to get into. It was just hard to get into it because, and the main character. So Andie MacDowell, she has this ranch in Colorado. And her son has been paying the mortgage and the property taxes. And he decides to go back for Christmas and tell her, hey, it'll be a lot more profitable if we sell this place because it's tanking. It is a money pit. He was saying all the things bad about it. And he was just kind of a jerk the whole time. And so this ranch hand that she hires who lives on the property, he's, kind of carefree and he's friends with the mom and the son gets a little jealous. But Andie MacDowell does a great job. I mean, she's a great actress. She always has been. So she was the name in that movie for sure. But I just didn't like some of it. You could tell was not even fake snow. It was CGR or was it a CGI? I'm sorry, CGI.
No.
Yeah, snow. There'd be green grass and little pits of snow. And I'm just I can't, if I'm not feeling it, I have to be, at least try. Wear heavy clothes. That's and it's Colorado.
I mostly wanted to see it for her because she looks like a total babe in the cover.
Yeah, and she's a mom, and she's a mom that's probably in her 60s, and she has the gray hair, and she's just beautiful, and so I stayed with it for 30 minutes, and then I'm like, I don't have time.
What a disappointment.
Yeah, so
the other one that called to me from this list was this one. Because I was like, well, obviously I have to watch the one with the lesbians.
Right.
Because I've already seen Happiest Season, and you can hear me bitch about it in whatever episode we talked about it last year. You can hear us both bitch about it
that was...
in that episode. And then there was the one... They had that one Season of Love from Tello Films on there. I was like, I'm not going to sign up for another service.
Yeah, I have too many. This one was cute.
I could find. Yeah, so if Canadians want to watch it, you can watch it on CTV. But, like, I loved it so much, and I was so excited that I was like, Kris, watch this movie!
It's like got Dom's in it. Yeah, so back to Under the Christmas Tree. Let me go ahead and tell you that it's the first Lifetime movie centered around a lesbian couple. Did you know that?
Yay! Way to go, Lifetime. About fucking time.
Yes, and...
About fucking Lifetime.
Oh, stop.
So bad.
Stop.
So bad.
That was bad. And here's the thing, like, I have mentioned this in the past, that Lifetime always has a twist. Like, their movies are never just like a romance. There's like a murder or there's like a stalker. It's never just like a sweet romance. And this one is a sweet romance. There was nothing bad in it. It was just pure sweet, pure sugar. It was wonderful. Right. I mean, it really was. It was as Hallmarky, so to speak, as it could possibly be. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
So it says, here's the like little blurb. It says, romantic sparks fly between Alma and Charlie when Charlie finds the perfect tree for the Maine governor's, Maine as in the state, Maine governor's holiday celebration right in Alma's backyard. So here's the good thing. So like this, the characters had chemistry. That is so hard to find in Christmas queer movies. It really is. And I know that Alma, is it, I want to say Alma, but I think it might be Alma. I don't know. But I say Alma because I'm thinking Alma. Yeah.
She's not a real person.
She is not a real, but she's played by Elise Bauman, who is a bisexual. And my future wife happens to play Charlie, Tatiana Jones. She is my perfect person ever.
Gorgeous.
Like just sexy. Not just, but just the way that she carries herself. I mean, that is like, that confidence, but not cocky, but like right on the border. Like, that's hot. Like, that is hot.
And she can wear a button-down shirt.
Yeah, she can.
Like nobody.
And it was so funny.
What you're saying is, she can get it.
She can, yeah, exactly. She's like, I just thought it was great chemistry between them. So basically what the story is Alma is inheriting her family's Christmas business. Her parents are getting ready to retire. And so they want to hire this company that's going to come in and change things. And like, she's fighting change as it is. I mean, it's hard enough for her to know that her parents are leaving and retiring down to Florida or Arizona. It was Arizona. That's right. I thought it was Florida, but I think they're going to Arizona.
I think the parents are retiring to Florida, but they also are going to be... I can't tell if it's that they're expanding operations to Arizona or if they
transferring
already have
it over
operations.
Something. Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah.
I didn't care. Like, I didn't care about what
there
the reason.
There was too much about the consultants.
And nobody cared about them. It was about the romance. Like, we were in it for the girls.
Yeah.
So basically, she is the Christmas whisperer. Like, everything she does is Christmas. It's beautiful. She always picks the right things. Like, what can we sell? And she's just perfect for Christmas. And so Charlie is from the governor's office, and they have to find the governor's tree. And it just so happens to be literally the big tree for the town that they light up every year. And it's that's under the Christmas tree. Alma explains that, she wanted to get married under the Christmas tree. And so, but Charlie comes in and she wants this. And she tells her boss, I'm going to get you this tree. So... you know how you kind of, not really, not trash talk, but you're kind of like, oh yeah, I'm going to use my charm and get this person. Like me. Oh yeah, it's my future wife. I mean, sure. So that kind of talk happens and Alma overhears it. And so she's kind of afraid that, it's all been just to get the tree. Their chemistry, their connection is all for the tree. But that's not true because Charlie really likes her. Yeah, so I will say this. Okay, so Ricky Lake was the draw in this movie. Like the name draw. She was the
big
hook.
Name.
She was the hook. And she had no business at all being in the movie. Like, she brought zero to the storyline. Like, literally, it was like there was a different movie going on that was happening at the same time.
Yeah.
Really.
You're right. Oh my God. It was so weird because it
so
sounded like she and Alma were in business together. sort of, or they had talked about being in business together. But then, so Ricki Lake plays the local baker, and she's supposed to be this, like, really notable baker, but more from, like, more like an online influencer kind of thing, rather than, like, it's not like she's like a Bobby Flay, or not that Bobby Flay's a baker, but, you know, like, somebody who's had a big cooking show or anything like that. But she was notable enough that, like, the person that was working with Charlie made his sourdough starter based on her recipe, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I think that it felt like she was there mostly for him,
right,
to fawn over, which was a bit of a weird choice. But also, I didn't care because everything else was so delightful that I was like, whatever,
right. Exactly,
sure, okay, Ricki Lake, thank you.
Yeah, two movies happening there. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
But the things I liked about it, like I said, I love the chemistry. And actually, some of the dialogue had a little bite to it. And I laughed. So there was this one scene, and I actually had to rewind it because I'm like, did she really say that? And so they had an exchange. And they being Charlie and Alma, they're going up in a bucket lift, truck that has a little bucket lift, because they're looking at the tree, the big tree. And so they're putting on a harness so that they don't fall out of the bucket.
Yes!
Right? So I wrote it down.
Yes.
Let me see. Where did I put it? Oh. So Charlie says, like, Alma's putting on the harness on her so she doesn't fall out of the bucket truck. And she says, I like a good harness to start the day.
I know. I know. And then she tightens it up and she says, tight enough for you. Yeah.
She goes tighter, and she goes, as tight as you can get. I was like, oh my God, no way did that just happen.
We're watching porn now. It's happening.
I love it. So they had some really, they had the cutesy, oh, you're so pretty. Oh, I have never felt like this before. But then they had stuff like that. It's like, yes, that is up my alley. Because, the innuendos are always there at a relationship, I think. When you're getting to know somebody a little bit better, there's always there's the little giggling of you don't know how far to push it and not go too far and not scare the shit out of them. So I love that push and pull. So I really like that. And I love the gingerbread house competition. That right there tells you that this movie,
was delightful.
You should be watching this movie because there is a gingerbread competition.
Wait, there is a cutthroat gingerbread competition. Right. That's the thing to know. This is no, we're gonna do this calmly and civilly. It's like, I'm surprised that nobody actually got stabbed during this competition.
It was great. It was a super cute, fun movie, and it was worth the 2 hours it took to watch it, or hour and a half, or however long.
Sure.
It was adorable, and if you need something just uplifting, which I certainly need, that has no stress levels, there's nothing bad about it, everything about it is good, then Under the Christmas Tree is for you.
It was so cute. Yeah. There's one other thing I want to add, because I just want to and
sure.
everything you just said, because I love everything you said. The other aspect that I actually quite liked was Alma's parents, especially her dad. Mm-hmm. Her dad is played by Enrico Colantoni, and I've enjoyed him on most things I've seen him in. He was in Just Shoot Me, 20 years ago or whatever, but he played Veronica Mars' dad.
Yes.
He played the dad of Veronica Mars, and he is so good at having chemistry with anyone he's working with. So I believed that these people were family. And then the person who played her mom, I didn't love her because she's very no, we need to do everything the consultants say, and I'm like, is this a fucking consultant movie? What is happening? But I thought, the two parents, I believed the chemistry between them. I believed the chemistry between them and their daughter. That the mom was, and I kept saying, where have I seen this woman before? Her voice was so familiar. She's the mom from the Santa Claus series.
Okay, yeah, I don't know about that. But, I literally, I was just, flailing my little arms, stop talking.
Yeah.
I actually... I thought it was Debbie Harry. For a split second, I thought that person was Debbie Harry.
Oh yeah, she looks like Debbie Harry does now because she has white hair. But I thought too, the people that play the mom, Alma and her mom, they actually look like they could be a mother-daughter.
Yeah.
Their face shapes, their features, whatever, looked similar enough. I was like, oh, way to go. I would not have expected that. That much chemistry, that kind of it all worked for me. I could actually see myself watching this one again next year.
I feel like the only person that didn't have chemistry was Ricki Lake. Because she wasn't supposed to be in that movie.
She was in a different movie.
That just kind of
give me her romance movie.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Give me her Christmas romance.
She went from Paris, France to, I think it was Camden, Maine. Like, town of 1,500.
Right.
That's the story we need.
That's the story we need. You're right.
Yes. So.
It's a romance between Ricki Lake and Camden.
Like, why? Why is she there? There's a story there. But that's for another movie. What about you, Tara? What is your official recommendation for the last episode of 2022?
Oh my goodness. No pressure. Okay. Yes. I should have put that much pressure on you, but I didn't. Okay. My recommendation is a novel, and it is The Christmas Catch by Claire Lydon. And I quite like Claire Lydon. I like to think of her as, she's kind of like the lesfic rom-com queen, especially at this point. Because I think in the UK in particular, they have this really, really great scene of rom-com novels in a way that isn't quite the same in the US, I don't think. Like in the US, you get more like actual romance novels, but not so many kind of on the comedic side. Mm-hmm. And this has really been sort of her sweet spot. And so I see Claire Lydon as writing kind of like the lesbian answers to, say, like Sophie Kinsella or Marianne Keyes or those kinds of people. And thank goodness, because we need it. And like this book, Kris, this book was so fucking cute. Like it was so cute.
I believe you.
It's, to me, like there's nothing wrong with the blurb of that book. That blurb is a very fine blurb. It's close enough to the truth. But the way I've been describing it to people, including, I was just talking about it with one of my best friends today, is that it's like planes, trains, and automobiles, except instead of two strangers, it's two lesbians who grew up around each other, is kind of my take on it. So Morgan Scott, Ali Bradford, they're both flying from Glasgow to Devon to spend Christmas with their families. When their plane has mechanical trouble, like they meet each other on the plane again and do this like, oh, I haven't seen you in forever. The plane has mechanical trouble, so they decide they're going to make their own way down to Devon rather than wait to see if they can catch another flight at some time in time. It's only a few days before Christmas, and they each have reasons why, like, it's really important to them to get there in time. So they get, this is not going to make any sense unless you read the book, but they get Mrs. Claus to drive them. Actually, I'll explain it. It's this sweet girl at the airport who thought all of her friends were going to show up and they were all supposed to be dressed as characters, and she's there alone and she's kind of upset. And so they convince her, like, okay, you know what? You need to go after this girl that you're in love with. You got to follow the path of true love. And what if you drive us part of the way to where we're going? And she agrees, except something happens so that she's like, sorry, I can't take you as far as I said I was going to take you. I'm going to drop you at the service station. So they're like, well, fuck. What are we going to do? We're at the service station. Okay. And so they get a guy to drive them to a train station. And then they get on the train. And the train is going to take them to where this woman was supposed to drop them off so they could pick up a car that they've rented. Except, of course, the train breaks down. And so now they're stuck at this place where they managed to rent Ali on her cell phone because Morgan, of course, has lost her cell phone. Because this is one of those, like, whatever can go wrong is going to go wrong. Yeah, everything is going to go wrong. So Morgan doesn't even have her phone, but Ali manages to book them a room at a B&B. So they walk and they go, and it's like there's this Christmas festival going on. It's really lovely, but of course they get to the B&B, and of course there's only one bed. Naturally,
of course, one bed trope. Yes,
and that's fine. That's fine. You know, they share the one bed, and then they're kind of the B&B owner, I think, drives them. Whatever, however it happens, they get to their rental car, and then their rental car breaks down.
Oh my goodness.
Partway there. So there's another one bed situation that night at Ali's cousin's house. And so they're still like, they're trying to get down, and they eventually get to Devon. But here's the important detail that I strategically waited until the end to tell you about. Morgan is Ali's childhood crush.
Wow.
Because Morgan and Ali's older sister were best friends growing up. Okay. So it also turns out that crush may not have stayed in childhood. And Morgan finally figures out that, Allie's not just an annoying kid sister anymore, and perhaps has a bit of a crush of her own. It was so fun.
It sounds like it, yeah.
I had so much fun reading this book. It made me laugh. It made me smile. It's a very, very low stress romance. There are a couple of potential obstacles in their way. Mm-hmm. One of them, of course, is Morgan wondering if Allie's sister's going to be pissed at her once she figures out that, like, maybe I am attracted to Allie. The other one, I'm not going to get into because it's a spoiler and it's not really necessary, but it is interesting, and I really appreciated how it was resolved, because it was a kind of thing that, like, yeah, it is a big enough deal that perhaps things are not going to work out. Except, of course, I'm reading a romance novel. I know that there's going to be a happy ending at the while, of course. This book has one of the best first kisses I've read in a long time. And I think a lot of that has to do with the setting, because I find that first kisses are always about the chemistry, which, I mean, as they should be. And the chemistry is still good in this one. But in this case, it really brought the setting to bear in a way that was very, very interesting. And that I don't think I've quite seen anything like that before. So I really like that. It also has a very... Okay, do you remember when I talked about the delicate things we make, how I was like, and there's this, like, intensely sexy haircut? Like, what the fuck is with that?
Yes,
I do. That? Like, yeah. And I saw other people talking about it online. Okay, so here's a line I never thought I would say in my life. This book has a surprisingly erotic gingerbread house decoration scene. Which, like, I know probably sounds impossible. And yet, I promise it's true.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So, the whole book takes place over the course of a few days with an epilogue that jumps kind of a year in advance. Given that it's such a short amount of time, I wouldn't say that there's, like, any large character arcs or anything like that. I did not care. And I don't think it needed it, because it was really, like, I don't think you can have these, like, big, sweeping, large character arcs while you're also doing planes, trains, and automobiles, and in their case, also bicycles. Like, there's a tandem bike at one point in a snowstorm. Like, what the fuck? What Claire Lydon put these poor women through was wild. And also, thank you, because it was worth it. I'm gonna say a thing. I think this might be Claire Lydon's best book.
Oh.
I know, and she's written a lot of books, a lot of really excellent books, and I've really enjoyed some of them, but this, I enjoyed the most. I really, really loved it. And so, if you're looking for, like, I know when this goes up, Christmas is going to be not too far away. If you're looking for a Christmas book to read, absolutely pick up this one. Like, let me scroll. Okay, absolutely pick up The Christmas Catch. It is well worth the time. Like, it's gentle. It's a warm hug. But, like, a warm, hilarious
hug.
Like, madcap hug. It's so good. So, yeah.
Good.
That's my one.
We have gingerbread. Both like, the gingerbread Olympics going on in both of our recommendations this time. Nice.
I know. I wasn't expecting that. But, hey, look at that. We tied them together. It's a thing. That is all for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us. If you've enjoyed the show, please make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you'll know whenever we release an episode. Like I said before, if you have a friend who you think would like the show, please tell them about it. And if you'd like to support us, we have links in our show notes to our coffee and our newsletter sign up.
Or if you want to connect with us on your favorite social media sites, we have links on the show notes for that too. Or you can just search for Queerly Recommended on Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, TikTok, and Twitter. Again, if it's still around. Or email us at or email us at podcast@queerlyrecommended.com. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
New Year.
Yeah, I still can't believe Twitter hasn't fallen down yet. Oh yeah, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Woo!
Happy New Year. There's this one video of our youngest when she was probably, 3. And I was trying to get her to say Happy New Year. I can't remember if I was like, if I meant to send the video to somebody or if I was just posting it to Facebook. I think it ended up on Facebook. And I said, let's like say Happy New Year. And she says, I love you. And I look at her, I'm like, I love you. And she's like, I love you. And then my friend said, Happy New Year. And finally she said Happy New Year. So now that's the dorkiest thing in our family is that we'll say, I love you. I love you. Happy New Year. It's mostly Neil and I doing it, but
that's sweet. That's adorable.
Yeah. Yeah. So Happy New Year, everybody. We love you.
Happy New Year.
If this makes it in the final cut. I don't know that it will.